waited 366 days to close because I already paid that tuition. See, anytime you lose money, it's just tuition, guys. That's how you have to think of it. It's just tuition if you learn the lesson and don't make the same mistake. So I would always write my seller finance deals for, I just wouldn't close, even if I would just wait to close them for, 1 day past a year. So then it became long-term capital gains, which was only 15%. Think about that year, because that year my high school volleyball team made it to the state championship, the dilemma then. Because I realized that while I loved teaching high school, I was literally losing money. Now, concurrent to that, I started my master's degree in business at Cal Poly in Pomona. And I realized very quickly that no one could teach me more about making money than my weekend seminar / do a deal pattern that I had established. Because I had learned more in 36 months about QuickBooks, P&Ls, balance sheets, taxes, asset protection, tax reduction. I learned more in 36 months of doing 15 deals than I would ever learn in a classroom for business at a university. And I was ready to drop out after the second semester. And then I thought, well, how does this student loan thing work? Because I'd never taken out student loans. When I was my undergraduate, my dad was a casino executive. I grew up in Las Vegas and Atlantic City, New Jersey. And I was bartending in Atlantic City and then going to BYU in Utah, which was really interesting. So I grew up in a home with a devout Mormon mom, and he described himself as a polite agnostic father. So he's like, I just don't want to talk about religion. I'm very polite about it. I just don't believe in anything. And so I grew up in a very interesting home called Whatever You Believe, We Respect. That was my home. And so my siblings, people say, because I'm the oldest of 7, they'll say, well, what do your siblings believe? I'm like, I don't know. We don't talk about that in my family. Like, it's whatever you believe, good for you. Like, I literally don't know, like, internally what my siblings think about God, religion. It's really interesting because my wife is a very devout Christian. And Becca, how would you describe me? So, believe.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it is.
You're faithful, but it's ever changing.
We're very devout Christian. Yeah, very prayerful. And my wife and I coexist very well. Like I always say that I feel more spiritual on the golf course Sunday morning. She feels more spiritual at church, and to each his own, right? And so she, how did I get on that? How did I pivot over to religion? Oh, right. And so I had never taken out any student loans. I had never taken student loans because I literally could make $40,000 in the summer bartending in the Atlantic City casino. And then I go back to Provo, Utah to BYU. And now BYU, if you drink or smoke, if you do anything naughty, they'll kick you out because the Mormon church pays 99% of the cost of the university. So when I was at BYU, tuition was like $1,000 a semester. I think it's still only like $3,000 a semester. It's insanely cheap, right? Because they subsidize most of the cost. And so it was always interesting because you had to do like an interview with your pastor, with your bishop. So they'd be like, so Brother Aaron, where were you this summer? And I'd be like, working as a waiter. Where were you? In New Jersey. Oh, okay. What were you doing? I was bartending at the casino, Bishop. Well, you weren't drinking though. Glad to be back at BYU, Bishop. I just learned that, just less is more. And so I'm at Cal Poly Pomona, and I was a California resident, so my tuition for my MBA program was like $1,000 a semester. And I went in the student loan office and I said, tell me about student loans. Because at this point I had about $200,000 in working capital. And I thought I could get some of these student loans and do more deals. So she explains to me subsidized student loans and unsubsidized student loans. And my mind is blown. I'm like, wait a minute. So you're telling me I can get a loan for tuition, books, housing, and food, and the government pays the interest while I'm going to school? Like, is that what you're telling me? And they're like, yes. And I said, and then I can get other unsubsidized loans where the interest accrues, but I don't have to pay on it until I graduate? She's like, yes. And I can get like $50,000 a year for tuition, books, housing, and food? She's like, correct. And because think in my brain, because I've been paying 6%, 10% simple interest on deals. And I'm like, and how much is the student loan interest rate? She's like 4%. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so great. I'm so glad I came in here because I was going to quit the MBA program. How many years can I do an MBA for? Like,